Welcome to Talking Sport with SD and the Fazman. We've got a special guest today. He's had an amazing career, both as a player, an assistant coach, and he's got a very special role down in Tasmania. But KP, great to have you with me first.
Thanks, Faz, mate. Beautiful day here in Melbourne, mate. The sun's shining, 33 degrees. I'm at the sponsors product today. I have Aurora on Flinders, who's sponsoring us with our Christmas competition, mate. He's got me ensconced up here in the penthouse overlooking the Yarra. But as you said, mate, we've got AFL royalty with us this afternoon. Absolutely, David Mohr, and some bloke called Matty Knights has decided to come on as well. So.
Thank you.
Yes, my Christmas has come a little bit early because I used to watch him as a player in the 80s and 90s, and Nida even brought out a little bit of the old Richmond back in your era. It's unfortunately got Matty Rogers' name on it, but he had a pretty good fit last quarter in 1995 in the semi-final. But you started it all off kicking three of the first four goals in the first half against Essendon. You were down, but you come home, and I still reckon that's probably the best Richmond game that I've enjoyed, apart from obviously the last three flags since 17.
Yeah, no, the jumper was it's lovely to see the old jumper, and I still remember in the late 80s joining Richmond with Kevin Bartlett and Neville Crowe as coach and president, and it was a very different system back then. I started in the under-19s down at Burnley Oval with Doug Searle and Ian Owen, and then progressed to Emmett Dunn in the reserves, and then if you got through that, you went to the seniors under KB, and I'll always be very thankful of Kevin Bartlett, an amazing person, really positive person, and I think him and Neville Crowe's leadership in times of struggle at the Richmond Football Club should never be lost. I can still remember Nev and KB shaking cans on a Sunday morning at traffic lights and that, just to get the club through and by. And it's great to see that jumper. Roger's a great friend of mine. Enjoyed playing with him, and that 95 final was a big one to beat a traditional rival in the Bombers. So very grateful for that day.
You and I will be lucky to get a word inside this, Dave, I reckon. It's going to be an absolute loving. Farrelly's been looking. He has not shut up for 7 days after you generously offered to come on, Matt, and we do appreciate it, mate.
We can go back to Faz if you want. That's all right. I'm enjoying that.
So, you started in 1988, retired in 2002. And then you went on to coach in Geelong as a head coach, had a flag there in 2012. Then being appointed as the senior coach of Essendon after a big name of Kevin Sheedy, a huge weight on your shoulders to take over from him. But then you've moved over the West Coast Eagles, and now you've gone down to Tassie to be the academy development coach for the Tasmanian Devils.
Yeah, obviously a broad range of experience, and I'm always be thankful of my time at Essendon as a head coach. I coached for 3 years under a really good operator and Peter Jackson as CEO, and first year we made the finals with a pretty young group, and then I think the corresponding years were sort of 7 wins and 8 wins, or 7 and 6, and then the club went in a different direction with James Hird and Mark Thompson, and but after a year I moved to Geelong, and, I was very fortunate to be at Geelong for a 10-year period, which, VFL coaching, AFL midfield coaching, development coaching. So I sort of had a broad range of sort of roles at Geelong, but just an amazing football club, such a humble football club. The way they sort of conduct their program with the community is such a good feel as well. And, history has shown their last 15, 20 years just been staggering. And, it taught me a lot about coaching, a lot about relationships, and then having a period over in the West Coast Eagles was a different experience again, and certainly met a lot of good people over in the West, and met a lot of good players that I had to deal with. So it's been a broad experience, and the new role is pretty exciting.
Who's the best bloke you've coached, Matt?
Amazing question. I'd have to say Joel Selwood's the best guy I've coached in regards to, if you put the whole package together, leadership, the way he attacked the football, the way he played the game, but also the way he brought a club with him. He would involve himself to know what all the staff were doing, how they were going in their lives. So he was just not a leader on the field. He was a leader of the football club as well. So I look at that and I think what an amazingly rounded person to be able to do that. So, you know, obviously coaching him was a huge high. From a pure an excitement point of view, you got to, you know, it's hard to go past Dangerfield, just some of the things he can do on field. You know, just that, you know, whether it's a mark going back with the fly of the ball, which pounces on a ground ball and jumps up in the same motion and scurries away. And, you know, so from him, from an exciting point of view, and then maybe from a young guy's point of view, I think Harley Reid, his first 12 months at West Coast, you know, he'd been lauded as #1 pick. He was in the paper 50 days in a row. He absorbed that as a young man. And then his second year, you see him start to grow as a player. So I think he's going to be a prodigious player in our game. And he's a really good young man to go to boot, you know. So, you know, I think he's got a very bright future over there.
You would bring up Dangerfield. I've still got PTSD from the bloody preliminary final this year when he individually towed us up at the G. I still don't sleep well at night.
Yeah, the other one that I probably should mention that I if you looked at the 3 clubs is Joe Watson, a player that was probably spent a year or two in the VFL, had some things to work on in his game, and then elevated himself to, you know, an enormous inside midfielder who could distribute the ball by hand by 15, 20 metres and bring other players into the game. So from a creative point of view, Job was, you know, certainly a pleasure to coach as well.
Outstanding bloke too.
Yeah,
a man of the highest calibre. And I hate Essendon with a passion. He is a man of the highest calibre. That deserves every accolade that gets thrown to him.
Well, I'll need to introduce a good friend of ours from Talking Sport. He's on the line as well from down there in Tassie, Dave Mohr. He's a commentator down there in Tasmanian League. Dave, you were talking about the excitement over the last 12, 18 months with us, and it finally got across the line. The stadium got approved through Parliament. You must be ecstatic.
Oh, absolutely, Faz. So look, I'm really excited about the Devils, but it's always been sort of like a 75, 80% excitement, because in the back of your mind was always that thought, you know, what if the stadium vote goes against the Devils? The AFL were very clear right from the outset, no stadium, no team, and they never wavered from that. So even though I was confident about the vote, I feel like there's a release now from all supporters that we can really get in behind the team and look to the future with a lot of optimism without that sort of cloud over the head. So a fantastic day. And I was talking to Matty before we went on air about that rally the Sunday before the vote. Absolutely terrific. Matty arrived in the middle of it. Now, it gave you a bit of an eye into what it's going to look like on game day down there in Hobart and in Launceston. So many people of all ages in the Tasmanian Devils gear, the scarves, the beanies, the Guernseys. About 15,000 people gathered there on Parliament House lawns. And look, the bars were full, the cafes were full, the shops were full in the city. So, you know, it gave a great insight to, you know, what it's going to be like in 2028 and beyond. But yeah, great excitement down here. Sports booming. You know, we got the WBBL girls won a couple of nights ago. So a lot of excitement down here, Faz. That's for sure.
Yeah, notice that there's been a few of the AFLW girls drafted this week. So some good talent obviously coming through for the women as well. But Matty, I'll ask you, I mean, when did it sort of come about that this possible role of taking on the academy was something you could consider? Was it Brendan Gale that contacted you, or through the list management group that they saw that this type of role was really, really important down there?
Yeah, no, it's a valid question. I'd been speaking to Benny Gale for probably 6 to 8 weeks prior to now, and we started talking about the football club, the development. I mean, stadium, the high performance facility at Kingston is going to be absolutely amazing and off the charts. And you know, the kids of Tasmania, they're both male and female. They can touch it now. They can see it. It's coming. And such an amazing excitement around the state. So I guess to be part of a unique experience about starting up a club from scratch, and remiss of me not to mention how much work's already gone in the last 12 months or even 2 years before I even come on board. So those people have worked really hard to get to this point. But yeah, I spoke to Benny about a role in in development, and that's sort of whole state development, with the 14 to 17-year-olds, say, or younger, and then working with the VFL with Jeremy Webberley, with assistant coaching, working with coaches, working with the players in the VFL, because the reality is a list of 48 and 28. There's no reason why those VFL guys shouldn't be aspiring to come on an AFL list. I mean, I've seen Tom Stewart come from a regional football competition in Geelong to be a 5 or 6-time All-Australian. Tom Atkins go from regional to VFL to AFL. And it's happened too often. So it's a bit like, why not? Whether you're 15 or whether you're 21, 22 in the state at the moment, there's such great opportunity, whether you're male or you're female. And that 28, when the AFLW come in the AFL, it's hugely exciting. And then, I guess the conversation with Benny Gale and Aaron Pigeon grew over the sort of 4 to 6 weeks and come up with a dual role, which I was really sort of comfortable with and really enthusiastic about. So it's going to get really tribal really quick. We're in opposition to 18 other clubs now. That it's game on, and we've got a state behind us, and it's just pretty magic to be part of something like that, and I'm really enjoying my role thus far.
Matty, the youngsters that are coming up to VFL level that haven't played at that level before, what do they have to focus on to get to that VFL level? Is it fitness? Is it skill? Is it decision making under pressure? Working with those guys that haven't been on a VFL list before, what are your priorities working with them?
Yeah, Jeremy and I have had a good chat with the coaching group about this, and we've got to have a big focus on development with this team. So the biggest thing of stepping into the VFL, we're going to be playing against a lot of teams of AFL listed players. So they're going to get up and down the ground with such great agility and speed and cover the ground really well. So one of the elements for us is to make sure we got a playing group that sort of can play that chaotic style of football that's fast and chaotic, and we can make good decisions in it, but then also know when we can play with rhythm, find the shorts, be able to move the ball up and down the ground. I mean, I think the best two clubs in Australia were the 2 grand finalists, and both Geelong and Brisbane could play 2 modes of football. They could play quick, but they could also play in rhythm and move the ball sort of at a slower pace up the field. We've got a lot to work on David, but the vibe of the group is terrific. We're getting close to sort of settling our squad, and it's going to be plenty of fun working with the 19 and 20, 21-year-olds that have come through the Tasmanian pathway, and a lot of them have moved back to be involved in the VFL program.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Because it's so tangible now. Like, you reach out and touch it. If you had to, and I know Jeremy's taken over the VFL role, but man, if you had to lay a guess, who do you reckon will be your senior coach?
That's a good. He hasn't taken long to get to a sharp one, has he? No, I don't think. I mean, I'm not speaking out of school, but I think that's pretty open at this point in time. It's still 2 years away. I'm not sure whether the club is looking to have a coach here 12 months out or at the end of 27. When pre-season starts, I think that's still to be decided and focused on, and that'll be up to Benny and the board to make those decisions. My role is to develop and coach, whether it's coaches and players. So, whoever we appoint as head coach is going to have to really be there to coach a state. And my view on the world a little bit, and this has been at Geelong. There's no messiah coach. There's no messiah. One person in a football environment. It takes a lot of quality people working together to achieve great things, and I guess that my experience at Geelong has made me really quite confident about that. So I think whoever we get as head coach will have a really important role, but they'll also have to fill into a team element, and they're also coaching a state, so they're going to need a lot of support. So I'm excited about whoever will get appointed, because I'm sure Benny and the board will make an amazing decision.
Matty, we've seen the Gold Coast, both in the men's and women's draft, have a lot of players come out of their academy. Is there something you can take from what they've done in the last 5 years or so that the Tasmania Devils can sort of model their academy on?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're looking at, Sydney, Gold Coast, GWS, they're all got their own academies. And what we forget a little bit is the Melbourne clubs have got their own NGA academy and father-son. So they've got their academies in their own right. Not nearly as big as the Gold Coast or other states, but I think you're right. If you look at the Gold Coast Academy to start with, they're really well resourced with coaches, 12 years, 13 years and up, So, I mean, if you look at the soccer clubs in the UK, they have some of their best coaches coaching their 12 and 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds, because that's where they sort of start that technical and tactical elements with the juniors. So I think it's getting a little bit like that in AFL, and obviously the Gold Coast this year's draft yielded some unbelievable results for themselves. And, you just have to match the bids to a degree and accumulate enough points. And, I guess one day we'll have our own NGA Academy, father-son, father-daughter type setup, which would be amazing. But what's really important in the first 4 years, we've got priority selections with Tasmanian born and bred. So throwing a lot of resource into that, Dave, is pretty important.
Yep.
You should put yourself up in the draft, Faz.
Yeah. My days gone, mate. I played a few games the under-19s in Launceston. That was about as good as I'd get. But look, it's fantastic. I mean, growing up down there, we would have loved to have a team, and I just think it's fantastic for people down there to have that opportunity coming up, and their kids to be able to go and get involved with the whole atmosphere of live footy. I mean, I go to the occasional game against the with the Eagles and Dockers versus the Tigers over here when the Tigers are over, and it's just great to be part of it. And the opportunity for the Tasmanians to embrace it now, to know that it's going to happen, I just think it's amazing.
100%. And then maybe that we become a completely national side and have maybe an expansion side up in the Northern Territory or up that way, which I think would be outstanding for the competition. Also means we don't have to have buys every week. But no, it's very cool. It's very exciting.
Matt, we're seeing Geelong in recent years sort of appeal to a different lifestyle for players, maybe out of the big city bubble, and just a really good, healthy lifestyle where it doesn't take long to get from one place to another. Do you think that could be a selling point for the Devils down the track?
Yeah, I do believe so. I mean, they talk about a lot of clubs as destination clubs or clubs of choice for, so that I think that's all about the people, in the environment. One thing I've really enjoyed so far is meeting the staff of the football club in whatever role they hold, and just, even the values of the club and the culture of the club in the short term. I've been really sort of really impressed by, and I think if you talk about a destination club is getting that, getting those values right, so that young men, their parents, young ladies that come and enjoy it, it's a special place to be. So I think part of that is the lifestyle. So I think you're right, like having a high performance facility in Kingston, 10 or 12 minutes out of Hobart, I think is a massive plus. I mean, if you're living in Melbourne, sometimes you have to maybe travel 30, 40, 50 minutes to get to your work or your training facility, whereas 10 or 12 minutes at Kingston on that beautiful parcel of land looks like it's going to be absolutely amazing. And then, I think just navigating your way around the city, like Hobart's a beautiful place. It's got some lovely cafes and restaurants and obviously the coastline. So, I think it's going to be really appealing. I really do, whether it's for an 18, 19-year-old taken in the national draft or a 28-year-old mature free agent or a contracted player that we bring to the Tassie Devils. So, Dave, I think it will be really appealing. I've got no doubt about that. And, I think we have to learn. It's not going to be, and I'll say this, it's going to be an amazing adventure. We've got to enjoy the ride, but we're going to get a lot of decisions right. But there's going to be some sort of roads we take that might be the wrong turn, but that's okay. It's just a matter of navigating through that and working through that, because I'm sure Gold Coast and GWS, when they come into the competition, they had some ups and downs and some decisions that they would have, if they had their time again, they would go differently. So we've also got to learn from other clubs the way they've done it.
And what sort of players do you think that you probably need to have as like a base, Matt? I mean, you looked at Gold Coast and GWS. They brought in some experienced players, like, I mean, McDonald from Melbourne went to GWS, where they were in their twilight of their career, but it was sort of the culture and that experience that was in the locker room that sort of helped the young boys. What sort of players would you identify as type of players that you think the Devils need?
Yeah, I think what the club have done really well, they've appointed, Todd Patterson and Derek Hine, Scott Clayton, and they're growing their recruiting and list management staff. So we've got tremendous experience and knowledge and enthusiasm in that part of our club or our program right now. So they were great appointments, like really early, to start to sort of put strategy in place, understand what players are going to be out there, national drafts coming up. So I think we're in a really good space in that, and those guys will do those roles and execute. But in regards to players, I mean, naturally we're going to get a lot of 18-year-olds initially through the national draft, 18, 19-year-olds. So, those experienced guys that are 21, 22, 23 probably present a really good opportunity, and that's what I go back to some of those VFL guys that might come onto the list. That I'll provide a really good support for the younger guys and then be able to sort of teach them on the run a little bit. In regards to our bigger contracted players, I mean, it will all depend on who's available at the time, who we can access. But, again, a bit like the coach, they're going to, when they come to Tassie, they're going to be huge profile when they come down here. So they're going to have to absorb that, be able to understand that, work with the state, love the state, and then, play great football as well. So we're probably going to be looking for pretty well-rounded, human beings that are capable of absorbing the pressure, playing high-level football at the same time. I mean, if you look at even little things, you look at other clubs, and I look at, say, someone like Josh Dunkley who's gone to Brisbane, and the way he plays up and back football, plays transition defence as well as offence, he's good in the contest. And, he must be pretty inspiring to play with. So those type of guys are great, and you're going to have the high-profile guys that can do special, unique things and sit on heads and run gaps and all that. I think both are really important for us to play on the indoor stadium. It's going to be pretty exciting.
It's important that you get your ducks in a row early, Matty, because I was having a couple of beers with a mate about 6 weeks ago. He's a dyed-in-the-wool Dockers supporter, and I bet him $500 the Devils will win a flag before the Dockers will. So, mate, I need you to be strong early, all right? But you know what? The Dockers are that bad. I reckon you've probably got a 20-year window for me to still win the bet. But no, it's great. That's fantastic to hear, mate. That's awesome.
I don't mind sitting under that hammer, mate. That's fine. I'm happy to take that on board.
Well, we're getting a little bit excited over here, Dave. There's a fellow by the name of James Mohr, who I've been in touch with, and also SD from our show. We're three Tasmanians. We're looking at possibly setting up a bit of a WA Tasmanian Devil supporters group over here. So that would be a lot of fun when the Devils come over to have a bit of support over here in the West. So things are starting to flow even over here.
Absolutely. And look, as I said early on, it's an exciting time in sport at the moment. And Matty probably hasn't been there long enough to sort of see this yet, but a lot of the teams are starting to work together a bit on the culture side of things. For example, at the rally the other week for the stadium, we saw Scott Roth and Christine Finnegan from the Jack Jumpers were there. And, I know that the Hurricanes work closely with the Devils and also the Jack Jumpers. So we've got that sort of group of professional teams now that I think will have similarities to their culture. I mean, we're an island state against the mainland. It's sort of that chip on the shoulder sort of thing. So I think we'll see that develop. And we've also got the Tasmania Jewels, which are the WNBL team coming in next season as well. So it's a pretty exciting time for sport here in Tassie.
And I think the Devils will be like everyone's second side. It just has that. And apart, like obviously you're going to have your true supporters, but I reckon a lot of people in Melbourne and Perth are going to be right on board with the Devils. I reckon you're going to get a massive amount of back-end support. I can't wait.
Yeah, I agree with David in the sense I think that like all the sports in Tasmania can coexist. I mean, I'm a big hoops fan. I love my basketball, and with the Jewels coming in and the Jack Jumpers, and you got the AFL, AFLW, the VFL, VFLW, both cricket teams. I think it's important for the sports to coexist and support each other. And wherever the youth choose to play and wherever they used to navigate with the sport they want to play, I think we're all just going to support that. I think it's a pretty exciting time.
Well, you played for the Tigers, Matty. You love the yellow and black, but when you were coaching against them, what was your match committee notes like when you had to come up against Dustin Martin?
No, you don't have to bring up Dustin because I was in the coaching panel in 220 when he got hold of us in the third quarter in the hub. So it's been 120 days in the hub at Southport, which it was an amazing experience that hub year, and we were going pretty well up and just till the end of the back half of the second quarter, and Dusty got hold of us. So yeah, thank you for bringing him up, mate. But he's some kind of player, like you know, an enormous player, and even, you know, I'll relate it to the Devils. Jack Rewald being an ambassador of the club. Often gets down to Tassie. You know, obviously his passion for the club is just enormous. And, you know, Richo's, you know, pretty heavily involved. Benny Gale. So, you know,
Royce Hart.
Yeah, the Tasmanians jumping on board. You got Al Lynch on the board, you know. So yeah, it's great to have big time Tasmanians involved in the club and really pushing the club, and gives it a lot of energy. Really, really good for the kids looking up to Lee. And you know, even go back to, you know, Peter Hudson, you know, players like of that ilk, you know, from different areas that obviously are really positive about the club coming in.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you'll be absolutely fantastic down there with the Devils. I mean, I just happened to watch a little bit of YouTube, the 1995 semi-final, and Matty's last goal, he picked it up in the left hand, had 5 bounces from about 35 out, just slotted it through. And I'm sure a lot of young kids will enjoy learning off you, mate.
Thank you, mate. Much appreciated, guys. No, it's good to be able to pass on knowledge, and it's just part of coaching is the satisfaction of seeing young men being better on the field and off the field. And you know, that's why I love it. That's why I do it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to working with a lot of the young people of Tassie.
Beautiful. And Dave, thanks for you for coming on as well, mate. We'll keep in touch, obviously, throughout next year with Tasmanian sport, whether it's the Jack Jumpers or we're in BBL season as well. The Hurricanes have obviously had a good year last year, and they kick off this week, obviously, with their first game. Yeah, so it'll be worth talking to you throughout that season as well. So thanks again for coming on with KP and I, mate.
Thanks, Faz. Thanks, Matty. Thanks, KP. Pleasure.
No
Cheers,
dramas,
boys.
I like what you said, Matty, about, you know, working with these young guys, but I think there's a lot of young blokes out there are just going to be super excited about working with you and Brendan Gale and the whole team, mate. So thanks for your time. Yeah, absolute legend of the game, and I'm sure that you'll bring outstanding culture and balance to the Devils, mate. Thank you for being on our Poker Little show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, cheers, boys. Thanks, KP.
All right, mate.
Thanks, Matty.
Stay there, Matt. We'll talk to you just as we go off. We'll be back with part 2 of Talking Sport with SD and the Fazman pretty shortly.